Well, the controversial bill proposed in the US Congress threatens to overshadow President Barack Obama's visit to Saudi Arabia this week, and it could harm the already strained relations between Washington and Riyadh. The bill would allow victims of the September 11 attacks to sue foreign governments, including Saudi Arabia. The kingdom has long denied any involvement in the 9/11 attacks. Saudi officials warn they will sell off billions of dollars in American assets if the bill passes. Now, much of the controversy surrounds 28 classified pages of a US report on 9/11. I want to bring in John Alterman from Washington. He's the director of the Middle East program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being with us. Now,
Thank you very much.
A lot of questions about what these classified pages might reveal about the potential role that Saudis played in 9/11. Is it possible that there are individuals within the Saudi government who helped finance the attack?
I think it's very unlikely that senior Saudis were involved in financing anything that we haven't heard about. What is more likely is either the report says the Saudis could have taken more action and didn't, or probably most likely, we simply can't be sure exactly how clean the Saudis' hands are. I think it's much more likely that the document is doubtful about things and can't give them a clean bill of health than that it has any smoking gun accusing them of doing anything.
Under the current US law, there are limitations when it comes to suing foreign governments in US courts. Legally, what is allowed?
You know, the US government in general doesn't like Americans suing foreign governments for fear that then foreign citizens would sue the US government. There are sort of different categories. Certainly there are seized Iranian assets that victims of Iranian terror have been able to get access to in the United States. There are also ongoing lawsuits about the Palestinian Authority's alleged involvement in terrorism and the efforts of Americans whose families have been harmed by this terrorism to sue the Palestinian Authority. I think what we have seen is while the Iranian assets are seized, and some of that is flowing to people, and while the Libyans actually created a fund to pay off the victims of terrorism, it's something the U.S. government really tries not to do for fear of what kinds of obligations the U.S. will be subject to in foreign courts.
And militarily speaking, what could the U.S. be subject to? What could they face?
I'm sorry, what could the U.S. do militarily?
Yeah, militarily, what are the ramifications of this? For example, the U.S. fighting in conflict zones, where there are where there are families that are involved in collateral damage.
Well, certainly, any number of places. You could have Iraqis suing the United States. You could have Lebanese and Yemenis who claim to have been harmed by American munitions suing the United States. I mean, it could go on and on and on. And it creates an open-ended process. As I say, the State Department in particular has been adamant about the principle that citizens don't sue foreign governments in domestic courts.
And Saudi Arabia, of course, has responded with a very serious threat. What are the financial ramifications, and could they affect everyday Americans?
Well, the Saudis have a lot of money invested in the United States. They're involved in not only in oil refining, but in normal businesses. The Saudis have said that if they are subject to seizure in the United States, they would try to move some of their assets in the United States overseas. That would presumably depress the value of some of those assets. It might depress the value of the dollar. Prices could go up. I think the Saudis would like to avoid that. The fact is the Saudi government for more than 70 years has relied on a deep security guarantee from the United States. I don't think they want to trash this relationship. I think what they really want is to find a way to build the relationship. But with the United States becoming the world's largest oil producer, not Saudi Arabia, the United States, the Saudis are starting to wonder, what is the future of this relationship? Does the United States really need us? And if the United States doesn't still need us, what's our strategy for the world? How do we protect ourselves if we don't have 3/4 of a century of the United States standing behind us?
We will be watching that visit of Barack Obama to Riyadh in the coming days. John Alterman, great to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynda.
Well, more U.S. troops will be going to Iraq in the battle against ISIS. U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter arrived earlier for an unannounced visit to Baghdad. While there, he said the U.S. will send an additional 217 troops, including special operations forces, to serve as advisors and trainers. The US will also send Apache attack helicopters. The move is aimed at helping reclaim Iraq's second largest city, Mosul, from ISIS control.